Hi, everyone. This is Mrs. Freeman, and Mrs. Lee is with me here today. And we're going to be going over the Health Safety Shared Responsibility draft as we begin to look at the start of the school year for 2020-2021. I would like to give special thanks to our task force. It's been a wonderful group to work with. A reminder that whenever you have questions or concerns and things that come up over the next couple months, to please email this task force group at schoolboard@ourladyofperpetualhelp.net. But they certainly have been working hard with me and looking at lots of documents and options to help re-enter our students back into the building. Some guiding principles as you look through your slide that's available for you is that we will make all decisions based on the Ohio Department of Health. So there's lots of information we're getting from the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, guidance from the Columbus Diocese, and most importantly, it's the information that we receive from the Ohio Department of Education and, of course, the Ohio Department of Health. And you have to remember that this is a plan that we have in place, and it is a draft, and it will be fluid. So we're asking a lot of you and our staff to have that flexibility as we begin school to see what that's going to look like, and also what directives the Ohio Department of Health could possibly give our building directly. And that's what will continue to help lead us as we make decisions through this process.
We're very blessed at Our Lady to have wonderful facilities that can be flexible and responsive to the Ohio Health Department and governor's orders. We have the capability to space students 6 feet apart and have smaller classes so that we can go back to school in the fall 5 days a week. We will be adhering to and maintaining our safety guidelines set forth. And at this time, all visitors would be stopped by Mrs. Green. We're not going to be allowed to have visitors in the building. In preparing for the 2020-2021 school year, all schools have been asked to have 3 tiers. It's important to note that these 3 tiers are a plan, and they're not necessarily a choice by parents where people would be on different tiers. Everybody would be on the same tier at the same time. Tier 1, we're all in 5 days a week. We're going to be here. Tier 2 would be if we, for some reason, would have to have only 50% of the students here. We don't foresee that to be happening for us because we can space the students out, and any larger classes, we can change the space that they are in so that we can all be here. But we do have a tier 2 plan kind of in place just in case it would be needed. And then tier 3 is e-learning, which we would also maybe even call remote learning if we would have to go to tier 3 again. In preparing for the 2020-2021 school year, tiers 1 and 2 are very similar. You can see, it's really important, parents, that you assess students before they come to school. If needed, we will definitely verify temperatures and wellness upon arrival, and face coverings. Students will have to have a face covering of some sort. We have plenty of hand sanitizing and washing stations, and there are other precautions that we're putting into place to keep students together with their groups, with their homerooms, to limit their exposure to other students in the building, and to keep everyone safe.
So as we look closely at tier 1 means that all students are in every day. And the reason we feel as a task force and administration that we can start school in a tier 1 is because we can put all these mitigations into place for safety, meaning we can have 6 feet social distancing in the classroom. With that, as 6 feet social distancing, all classrooms will have desks so students can have their own space, and there won't be shared resources as far as student supplies or students using lockers. And the 6 feet social distancing in the classroom also means that each space can only maintain a certain number of students. So we are able to do 19 total in many of your standard classrooms here in the building. That does include your teacher. So when I had put out an email to you about a wait list, the wait list would be for any new students who would want to come into the building. our priority is to this community. Our priority is to the families at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. So all of you who are registered, who have completed your fax agreement, you are already on our list. If a class is larger than 18 students, then we're also blessed that we have extra spaces that that class could utilize to have the 6 feet social distancing. So all of these pieces have really been taken into consideration as why can we do a 5 day and how can we help promote those mitigations for our staff and for our students. So as you look through that, again, face coverings will be required. We're cleaning spaces throughout the day. We do want to expand our lunchroom to 2 different areas on campus so that rooms could possibly be sanitized at that time when the students are out of the room, and also to give the students an opportunity to safely move out of their classroom and be able to eat in a different environment. But of course, having 2 expanded lunchrooms and recess built into the schedule, this will happen throughout the day to avoid and limit large gatherings of students. We're also looking at Tier 1 incorporating Mass, which is a very big part of who we are for Catholic identity, and looking at how we can do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays to accommodate space for the students to be able to spread out in Mass, and of course, wearing their masks currently. Tier 2, so this is the hybrid, or you may have heard the word blended. Hybrid and blended are essentially meaning the same. For us, again, like Mrs. Lee had said, Tier 2 we can't really figure out ways that this would apply to us unless we were directed by the Ohio Health Department to go to a Tier 2. But we can have all of those other mitigations in place when we talk about distancing at a Tier 1. But if we did have to go to a Tier 2, you would see half the students in the classrooms, and it would be a group of students Monday and Tuesday, and then the other half would be Thursday, Friday. Wednesday would be a day for additional support and cleaning of surfaces, and learning on Wednesday would happen through e-learning. If students weren't in, so on Monday and Tuesday, if they were assigned to be home, then e-learning activities would be happening from home. And there's also a blocked schedule that we're putting into place, and we'll get to that a little bit later into our slides. If we did have to go to a Tier 2, students would be split according to the alphabet. So if you had multiple students in your family, they would, of course, be coming the same days. Base would not be an option for you to have open, because if I was at a Tier 2, it really has to do with space and being able to space students out. And I would not be able to have base going on during the day and providing the support we need for the mitigations. Tier 3. So Tier 3 is what you experienced at the end of the school year last year during the springtime. So this is called e-learning or remote or Tier 3. They all mean the same thing. So Tier 3 essentially would be we were all at home. We were all learning remotely through Digital Academy or Google Classroom. And teachers would be posting and having live classrooms like we had done with Zoom, but you're going to see Digital Academy is going to be able to offer a lot of these platforms. So it will hopefully really streamline it for the parents that everything will be available through Digital Academy and help you, and the students will know how to log into Digital Academy. We are blessed that we're able to give a lot of technology support, and through the CARES Act, we are able to order more equipment for the students. We will have Chromebooks, and we will be able to be one-to-one when we talk about technology. So if we did have to go to e-learning, or we did have to go to a Tier 2 where you are perhaps in 50% of the day, we do have technology available so students can be one-to-one, and we're very blessed to be able to have that.
The face covering, as we said before, students will be required to wear a face covering kindergarten through eighth grade. They're going to wear those in the hallways, when they enter the school, when they exit the building. Um, but we will try to work in some breaks per the teacher discretion within the classroom. And remember, students will be mostly with their classroom. We're going to try to limit the exposure to other classes, to other students in other classes as much as possible. They'll have breaks at lunch, recess, PE. We understand that not the face covering policy is not going to look the same for all students. If your child cannot wear a mask, there will be an appeal process and forms that the school nurses will have, and face shields and other measures would have to be approved through that process. Also, with face coverings, all staff members will be wearing a mask. Also, some may be wearing a face shield as well, in addition to the mask, if they do not wear glasses. Just so right now, start working on that. Start picking up some of those things, practicing. There is not a guideline as far as colors or designs. Just make sure that they fit and make sure it's an appropriate mask. This is just another slide, obviously, telling you a little bit more about masks. And if you don't feel comfortable with your child returning to the building, we know everybody is going to be different. It is hard to develop a plan, even within our school, that will meet everybody's needs, but we're really wanting to work with each family, each group, to determine what's going to be best for you. Some of you may be concerned 5 days a week is too much. We're going to, please reach out to us, call or email, and we will work with you. Individual plans could be made to facilitate full reentry, because that's the goal, to get everybody here as much as possible at your comfort level, whatever you feel is healthy. However, if you thought, oh, I just want to do online or remote learning for the entire school year, we really at this time cannot accommodate that. If you know the entire year, I don't want my kid in the school building, then we really encourage you to reach out to your public school district now, to possibly access their online program. However, if you think, right now, I'm not sure, but I want them to eventually be there at Our Lady, I want them to be there full time, definitely give us a call. Let us know that, and we can talk about how can we make that work? How can we make that happen, even if it's a little at a time?
So this slide shows you the blocked schedule. Last springtime, we implemented a block schedule, especially for grades 4 through 8, and it seemed to really help the students and the staff. It's impossible on a e-learning event to go through 6 periods a day and to expect to be able to log in and accommodate 6 different class periods or more throughout the day. So we will implement a blocked schedule from day one. So that blocked schedule, here's an example for you. And it really allows less crossover. So one of the other mitigations that we can implement at Our Lady is that the teachers are moving and not the students. So we especially see this in grades 4 through 8, where students would frequently be moving every 45 minutes. And with the block schedule and the teachers moving, that limits that amount of movement and being able to stay with your cohort group. So if this blocked schedule, if we moved into a tier 2 or a tier 3, which is e-learning all at home, then you would know exactly what's happening on what day, and there wouldn't be a big change to your schedule or to the student's schedule because it was implemented from day one. Drop off and pickup will look a little bit different. Again, having visitors and volunteers come into the building will not happen this year. So you will be stopped at that vestibule by where Mrs. Green sits if there's things that you need. And of course, that first week, August 31st, when we stagger students back in, and this is for K through 8, that first week, we'll assign, and I don't have that out yet, but we'll assign by last name, so you'll do it as a family, a day that you're coming. So really, every class will only have 4 to 5 students during that August 31st week. During that time, I know many of you and students want their parent, you want to be able to walk them into the building. And those are all going to look a little different this year. We're not going to be able to have you walk them into the building every day. We can work that first week on kind of that transition that happens for students. And then we really need to make sure we're taking care of all drop off outside in the parking lot. So doors will be unlocked at 7:35, and I'm going to be very strict on this year that doors are not open. So previously, students would come in sometimes as early as 7:15, which was still too early, but I always had a staff member there to accommodate, and students would sit in the gym. I can't have that happen this year. So this is one thing that parents, I really need you to work with me on, is that you cannot drop your student off and leave them unattended. We will not open the doors until 7:35. So please monitor that. Please work that into your schedule. It's important that I don't have students left unattended. And as students arrive, there could possibly be ways that we are monitoring that parents, you've done an assessment of your child before they've come to school, and that we're verifying that as you are pulling up in your car. So the best way for drop off, honestly, is to stay in your car. And students will be released through the cone zone just like you're used to. And we could possibly be verifying temperature and wellness at that time. And then students would walk to their entrance location. So students in 4th through 8th grade will be entering through the library doors. Students in K to 3 will be entering through the main entrance. So I know it says in the slide that they'll be dropped off, but please stay in the cone zone. Please stay in the cone zone. Students will all kind of go through that cone zone area and then walk to their entrance location. Because when they enter, they're going directly to their homeroom, not to the gym, which helps us get kind of a one-way traffic going as we enter the building so we don't have crossover. For pickup, we will begin, we're doing the same time frame here. So pickup begins at 2:50. This time, students will be called as you come around in the back of the school, create one. I'm looking at probably one line right now, but Mrs. Green will be out there to help direct you. I ask that you stay in your car. You just get in one big long line with your cars. Have a nice big paper for us so that we can see your child's name and homeroom. And Mrs. Green will just be calling your child's name or family to be dismissed. And then those students will leave the building, come straight to your car, and then you will pull away safely. So I know it might sound like it's going to take a long time, but I think we can get it going, and it'll be the safest way to dismiss students so we have the least amount of crossover and gatherings happening in the parking lot.
Parents this year, since drinking fountains will be turned off, we are blessed to have bottle fillers. So we're asking that you supply your student with a refillable water bottle, obviously the masks, and each student will need all of their own personal supplies. There will not be any classroom sharing of supplies. In addition to that, we're doing our best to limit communal spaces. Each grade level, we have 3 different bathrooms, actually 4 kind of throughout the building that students will be assigned to using. We're working on outdoor hand washing stations. We're going to clean and sanitize more frequently. And then, like I said, we have the water bottle filling stations. And if for some reason, a student would be sick, we do have a separate isolation area near the nurse's room where they could be monitored, but away from everyone else to limit exposure. We are continuing to educate ourselves, the faculty and staff, about school maintenance, about the new safety guidelines. Students too, that first week of school will be a staggered start where we'll have small groups of students. So we'll be involving them in our school maintenance and safety plan and helping them to understand why we have these new guidelines. Our floor will be marked to help promote social distancing, and of course, masks will be visible at all times.
So the last couple of things, just as a reminder, you need to know that these plans are at the moment. They'll continue to be reevaluated based on conditions, data, and information about the pandemic and the recommendations that we receive from the health department, the diocesan office, and the Ohio Department of Education. So I know that's asking a lot of all of us, to have that flexibility in place. But please keep all of this in mind as you are heading into the fall. What are your backup plans? Who, if there's someone that's available in the family to babysit, or if your job then goes to being online. So all of those pieces are very fluid, like I'm sure you're all feeling, and not knowing exactly what it will look like. But I appreciate that all of you are working with us on this, and I do feel that it is a complete blessing to be at Our Lady of Perpetual Help and be able to still connect our Catholic identity no matter which tier we're in for our students, and to maintain the family that we really have here at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. The last slide are resources for you. And one other item to note is that please know that preschool they are working on a separate plan themselves, because there's some other guidelines that they follow as a preschool. So if you're looking to see what that preschool plan looks like, they're working very hard on that, and that will be coming to you soon. But know that we're really confident about the spaces that we're able to offer and the mitigations that we have in place. And hopefully we can work with you if you have concerns or questions, and we can come up with the best plan for your family as we move forward.